Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. We are doing The Batman review, and here I am with Vengeance himself, Bossman. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right.
Okay, and likewise too, dude. So you saw the Batman yesterday. I saw it earlier today. We're the only two people within NerdTube who've seen it, so we're going to do a review about it. So it's very hard to for me to I don't want to say put this into words, but I will say this that when I first was watching this first hour or so of getting into this, I really, really loved this movie. I like the way that we had a very different take on Batman. It was a detective tale, and we all know him as being the greatest detective and so on. And I liked him having to deal with a variety of different issues, going back and forth between the police who don't know if they should trust him or not. His relationship with Jim Gordon. I didn't think there was much on his relationship with Alfred. Unfortunately, I thought that was kind of minor when it's one of the major relationships he has in Batman. But fair enough. His relationship with Selena Kyle was excellent. I think for me, Zoe Kravitz was the best thing about this movie, in my opinion. Um, I, Carmine Falcone was an interesting character played by John Turturro, a sort of Italian mob style gangster of the Penguin was interesting. I've never seen that take on him, but fair enough. I hope they evolve him in the future with a monocle and a hat and maybe one of those sort of Pink Panther cigarette sort of things. But I think what kind of and this might where we might go against the grain here, boss man, is that I think what kind of disappointed me, and there's full spoilers ahead, by the way, is that I think it went with a very flamboyant Hollywood style ending. And I did not appreciate that too much. This film was very much like a Batman version of Seven, and we all knew it was the Riddler. We all it was like Columbo style of knowing who the bad guy was and everything and how Batman was going to resolve the issue. But when it went with like when we found out that Riddler had these plans of explosives and flooding the city, I'm thinking this is so left field. This really is this is adding grandiose and razzmatazz to just a guy who was killing a handful of people, and it took it to this scale where he's now fucking threatening the whole of Gotham. I didn't like that at all, and it really made me upset with the movie. Unfortunately, from something which I really did like to the very final hurdle, not liking at all. How did you feel about this?
Uh, See, the thing is that I'm gonna assess this film on its own merits because people are gonna compare this to the better versions and the Nolan versions, and it's its own thing. Which again, I so I'm gonna appreciate. So I'm gonna disagree with you. That I think you may disagree with my take on this, but I think what he was trying to do is try to do political commentary on like Trumpism. Like for example, the way I took the last bit was that was Max Reed's take on what happened last January, where we had the Capitol building invasion and stuff like that. So I think that was basically him saying, this is what this person is. He's basically somebody who is trying to stand up for what he thinks is real rights, but actually what he stands for is actually criminal. I thought that was interesting. Again, I really like this take on it. For a start, the one thing that I love is I've only seen a couple of reviews talked about it is the fact that when you don't see Batman for ages, all you see is like you see people looking into like dark alleys for him. And I mean, we'll get into something I didn't like in a minute, but like I just love that fact that you get those guys with the makeup, harassing that guy, and then all of a sudden all you hear is doof, 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 doof. Like what the hell is that? And then all of a sudden like you realize like the footsteps, and then like all of a sudden he comes out of this dark thing here, and like it's a glorious white shot. The cinematography in this film is tremendous. And
Yeah,
I love the way that he shoots. Gotham City has been this like rain drenched, sewer ridden thing, and I thought that was really well done. I love the fact that he's in the cowl the whole time. He's not just changing between the two. He is like 90% of it. He's Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. He's not Bruce Wayne, the final billionaire. He is full into character as Batman, and I like that. And I love the fact that in it, we have this sort of like this interesting story of like corruption and stuff like that. It felt very, very gritty, and I like that. I love this take on it. People are going to say, "Oh, it's going to do this, that, and the other." At the end of the day, it's its own thing, and it's a really good film. I disagree with you about the ending. I think that the ending was very, as I said, I think it was political commentary on what happened last January with the whole invasion of the
I'm talking about the explosions and the water flooding in, and that was like really. I'm not going. I had no problem with it with additional Riddler minions and stuff like that. I had no problem with that to a degree, but once because I kind of understood that you're having followers online and stuff like that.
I'm going to say something now that you might not agree with, but it felt like to me like do you know the end of the Dark Knight where they have the two boat thing?
Yeah.
It felt a bit like that. I mean, not that that's a bad part of it, just that it felt a little bit tacked on. That we got the idea. I agree with you that it just felt a bit contrived to get it into that sort of adventure thing. Yeah. But again, like
became a post-apocalyptic movie and stuff.
Yeah.
Everything you said, by the way, regarding this movie, I agree with you. That's the thing. I agree with you. I think all of the things you described about him mainly being Batman and the character studies and the underworld, and it's very Seven-like as well, with a rain-drenched city and all of that. I all agree with you. I just wish they didn't have to go to that. Okay, we need a Hollywood ending.
We need an action set piece. I
don't even mind an action set piece, but having it was very Joker-like of Riddler to start blowing shit up, and like he was just there to kill a handful of people. He was supposed to be some sort of like serial killer Robin Hood, so to speak, yeah. And then he ended up blowing everything up because he kind of got the wrong vibe from Batman, who he looked upon as an accomplice, and that wasn't the case. So he had this plan B of blowing up the whole fucking town, which seemed to go against the grain of what he was doing, which was killing people who were corrupt. So I just found that very, very left field, to what Riddler's ideals were, because he never really saw himself as the villain. He just thought he was getting rid of the villains, if you know what I mean.
He's getting rid of corruption in the city, and I again, like, that's the thing that I liked, is that the best Batman villains are the ones that are kind of like a warped versions of him. They're like a mirror image to some degree of him. I like that. I like this. Like, for example, let's go to the stuff that I really liked. Like, for example, I don't care what anyone says, that the depiction of Penguin, I think everyone, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, that is Colin Farrell believes that. And I've got to say, the word unrecognizable is not the term. I did not for 1 second think that's Colin Farrell. And I was like thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, makeup job was fantastic. It could have been another actor.
Exactly. I thought it was another actor. It's like, no way is that Colin Farrell. And it's like, because I didn't hear a hint of his Irish accent.
Yeah, he went like Italian mobster, Italian American mobster, which was a different take on Penguin. I didn't mind, but I wish there was one element of him that made you think to yourself, yeah, that's Penguin, because there wasn't enough of a Penguin sort of penguinness about his Penguin, if you know what I mean.
I think this is before. I think they just called him the Penguin because of the eyes being loud and stuff like that. So it's called bully sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think now that Carmine Falcone's out of the picture, you might start seeing the the more animalistic side of Penguin come
How
out.
did you feel about him being Carmen Falcone's henchman, so to speak, and not his own man?
I didn't mind it. I mean, the thing is that
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, it didn't really detract from the film for me. Carmen Falcone looks like the kind of guy who would have the Penguin as his his body as his like right hand man sort of thing. And I
Yeah,
think the thing is that like I mean Penguin himself came out of this. I mean to be honest with you, I love the Penguin in this because I love the fact I love I mean. I know we're going around on this, but that chase sequence with the flaming Batmobile, fucking hellfire, that was great.
yeah, it was good.
When he's like fighting over cars, and then like he's like getting away from him in that sports car, it's just great stuff. As I said, the thing I also liked about this is that the riddles were pretty easy to solve, but they were super easy, if that makes sense.
I'm just happy they had a ton of riddles, dude. Like those riddles all over the fucking place. I loved it. I mean, he
like
is
the
the
cipher
Riddler.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of decipher. I'll be honest with you, I didn't get a lot. I didn't get all the riddles. But I like the fact there was riddles here, there was riddles there was riddles fucking everywhere. You know, a lot of it was in Spanish, which kind of threw me off a bit as well, because
La Rata,
yeah.
something or other.
So I just had to go along with it. But fair enough, you know, I didn't mind the fact that this is Batman solving riddles. So
yeah, said I just thought I also love the fact that that Batman's trying to also like find out about like the mob scene, like so he's finding out about Catwoman and what she's up to. He's finding out about the fact that Carmine Falcone is corrupt, big shock, and that like what he's been doing and stuff like that. I just love the fact that I mean the thing is that Paul Dano is pretty decent as a Riddler. I just wish he was in the. I wish he was in the film more, but that's just slightly more.
it's kind of masked there.
Yeah. As I said, I initially I was as primed to hate the green mask thing, but it kind of worked for what they were going for. That he was basically the Zodiac killer. Whereas like it was kind of this like masked, horror, so like Jigsaw, whatever, like the best one for me is when he takes Peter Sarsgaard and drives the flaming car into the funeral, and he's got that flaming bomb over his mouth and stuff like that. And then
oh my god, yeah, that DA was Peter Sarsgaard. Yeah, I was thinking myself, I know this guy. Yeah, I remember now. I remember the actor now. Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of who he was.
Yeah. I did I didn't like used to see him on his sitting on his own in the bomb. Anything with the ring going off, and all you hear is it's like, oh, Batman's here, and then obviously he comes out in the darkness. It's like, do you know what? I mean, see what you want about Batman, but like he can enter places pretty coolly. Just coming out of the darkness like that.
Yeah, I like that too. He wasn't much on the gadgets, Batman, was he?
No, it's pretty lucky. He had a couple. Like he had the thing on his chest where he could like open it, and he had a grappling hook. But I think apart from that, it wasn't like he wasn't like full of like the Nolan versions where it's like throwing like battle rangs and stuff like that around.
He had his like his eye thing as well.
The camera.
Camera on his contact lenses and stuff like that. I like the way when he was using Catwoman, Selena Kyle to infiltrate the club. How did you find? Well, this is kind of a new revelation of Selena Kyle being the daughter of Carmine Falcone.
I mean, I think it worked for the film, and I think in other films it might not work, but because Carmine Falcone Falcone, as they say in this film, is somebody who will kill people if they become inconvenient, like he killed Selena Kyle's friend.
Yeah, he killed her mom as well. We found out just as he was almost killing her, he found out that she killed Selena Kyle's mom. So yeah, but yeah. So
As I said, it was a. As I said, I loved that part. I mean, John Turturro. But the fact is that he was pretty scary, and he's usually in comedies, so that should tell you how well they did that. I like that. I'm trying to think of the things I didn't like was the narration. I wasn't a big fan of the narration. This city it's like you don't need it. You can just say that internally. You don't need to have a flaming voiceover narration. I thought that was a misstep. Another misstep I thought was, the thing is that this was 3 hours, but it didn't feel like 3 hours, which is a good thing. I love Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. I love Zoe Kravitz.
He's Lieutenant Gordon, I believe, at that time.
Lieutenant Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get anything else. I wasn't a big fan of the very end where the Riddler was in it and we had yet another version of the bloody Joker. It's just like
that was the Joker, wasn't it? Yeah, but
it
we
was.
never really saw him properly.
Well, the fact he was laughing and he was
It
was a big clip. I mean, I wanted it to be Joaquin Phoenix, but that's just me.
I personally, I wasn't happy that they had a Joker. Some things were shoe-ins. Okay, let's just throw a Joker in there for the sake of it.
I thought, maybe you disagree with this. I thought do you remember when we went into his flat? Like we went into the Riddler's flat, and we had all the things. And he was talking about what's his name, Edward Elliot and stuff like that. I thought, are we going to get Hush? Because that was cool.
There were definitely Easter eggs.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, there were Hush Easter eggs for sure.
Yeah, so I was like thinking, I'm going to get Hush, and to me, again, I hate saying this because the Riddler is a great villain. We could do without him for a bit. The thing is, we had 2 Oscar-winning performances as the Joker. We had Joaquin Phoenix and we had Heath Ledger. We can do without him. How about doing other villains? How about doing Hush? How about doing... trying to think of other villains you could do. Mr. Freeze. Do Mr. Freeze properly. How about I'm trying to think of other great Batman villains.
Well, we just didn't need an Easter egg of another villain at the end. Like it's really hard to know how to end this film because.
Well, here's how I would have ended it.
I think Matt Reeves and everyone had issues with the ending because it was so grounded. I mean, people think Batman Begins is grounded. I don't think so at all. You guys driving a fucking a tumbler bloody Batmobile on top of a church. I don't find that to be remotely credible whatsoever. But I found this to be very grounded, but it just couldn't help itself with the razzmatazz at the end. And then there's throwing some Easter eggs as well, like fucking Joker. Like, come on, you don't have to give us everything. You've given us a 2.5 hour, 2 hour 45 minute, really good detective story. Just end it on its own merits, and then you can continue with other shit if it's successful and people appreciate what this is. But you didn't need to. Oh god, I'm really, really disappointed with the action set piece in Gotham Square Gardens. I really didn't like it. I didn't like the flooding. It really bugs me so much because it was so different to the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the thing is that you wanted a bit of a different end to it. I can see that it will literally just bother you. Here's what I think. I think that it's obviously there to sell it to the popcorn audience because the thing is that but the thing is that I agree with you. This should be more Long Halloweeny, in that it's more of a detective story.
But I think you're doing like this is Batman.
No. But what I'm saying is, I'm actually agreeing with you because
I know you agree with me, but I think the makers are then doing a disservice to what the audience is by adding the razzmatazz at the end, and I just feel that like they play us for idiots. Then like it's a bit like WandaVision. You saw WandaVision, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like the first several episodes were all quite grounded episodes, but then they went for the big spectacular Marvel set piece at the end with the final episode, and even though it was very enjoyable, it did feel out of place. The same with what happened here. Like, this was between Batman and Riddler. This was their beef. Batman resolved it, and it was a battle of wits between the two of them as well. And they should have come up with a much more intelligent ending, worthy of a film that wasn't trying to be so over the top. But they just couldn't help themselves. And
No, but I think the thing is that I think that Matt Reeves. I mean, again, I don't want to speak for the guy because I don't know him, but I think if you would go to him, he would say that he was trying to make it more. Trying to think with the
well, I think Matt Reeves was influenced by.
appeal to a much broader audience.
No, I think Matt Reeves was trying to do it the way he wanted, but I think the studios wanted a flamboyant ending. That wham bam thank you ma'am ending, in my opinion. Because if he wanted to go for if he wanted to make a popcorn flick, he would have made a popcorn flick. But he made basically like a series, like a short series in one movie, 2 hours 45 minutes. That's like 3 or 4 episodes of a television show, and that's what he kind of did to a degree, and he almost pulled it off, as far as I was concerned. I'm pretty gutted, actually. I'm really gutted because I wanted to love this, and I've ended up finding it quite kind of average.
I'm actually going to disagree with you. I thought this was a tremendous film. It's one of those things where they did so much right that the little bit they did wrong, I can kind of forget. It's one of those things where I know that you're going to disagree with me very strongly about this because I can tell that the end really bothers you.
It bothers me a lot, dude.
But the thing is that I get where you're coming from, but I disagree with you because I think this was Matt Reeves' take on what happened, as I said last January, and was like, this is what that sort of mindset can lead to, and that's the reason maybe that appeals to me because I'm very, as you know, I'm very political, and I could see where he's coming from. I mean, I don't agree with him because I think that what it actually leads to is the guy getting voted out, but we won't go there. But I think that this is very much take on how somebody can have noble goals but have them corrupted, and I think that was the whole point of
Yeah.
of the first set. But the thing is that what that whole thing was the fact that what Batman's trying to do, really sticking it, thinking, he wants me to do this. He wants me to purge corruption from the city totally. Whereas Batman's like, no, you do it through legitimate means. You don't do it through the ways you've been doing it. And I think that because, as I said, that last bit was it being shown in a more physical way. Now, maybe it bothers you more than it bothers me, but that's the way that I took that last bit.
By the way, before we continue, did you ever watch Titans?
The show? Yeah.
Yeah.
I reviewed it on air with you guys.
Okay. Did you recognize that the kid who was part of that gang was Tim Drake from Titans?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic, that you got a guy who plays Tim Drake in Titans playing like a Joker gang member.
Do you actually thought they were? I thought they were like Two-Face members.
Yeah, I think because his face was only half painted, he wasn't fully inducted. I feel because everyone else had full on sort of like Joker look. Yeah, I understand the Harvey Dent, but I think Harvey Dent. I mean, there wasn't even a single reference to him. I think he's somebody who'll come in the future. And I do feel that this film will get a sequel.
I deserve a sequel.
I mean, without a doubt.
But as I said, I do think that this is a tremendous movie, and if this is the way that they're taking the franchise, I'm all for it because the fact is that this was a very detective noir take, very sort of like 50s hard boiled sort of like Humphrey Bogart, Sam Spade sort of like gritty take on the character, and I loved it. As I said, the bits I didn't like was the narration, and I did think that the last bit went on a little bit too long. But I do like the fact that we got to see the fact that Batman isn't perfect. He's somebody who can cross the train. He does need help in not crossing the murder line, because there's a couple of times that he looked like his murder line where he's like punching that guy in the face. I thought it was literally going to hurt. And then it's the mask. I thought it was going to be like somebody we knew, but it was just like some random bloke. It was just like,
wasn't he that bloke when he went to the mayor's funeral? That guy was talking, sitting.
What's that guy?
When Bruce Wayne, when he was Bruce Wayne in the mayor's funeral, and that guy was going on about something.
Absolutely 1,000% correct. Yes, you are correct about that.
That's what I thought he was.
But I think that's the whole point of the film, is that sometimes we can have noble goals, but they can be corrupted by
corrupted from all angles.
Yeah. So I do think I know that we've kind of agreed in some parts and disagreed with it, but I think that you've been a bit too I don't want to say the cruel. You've been a bit too harsh on this. I think it's a better film than you're going to give it credit for, because I think it is a tremendously made, well shot. I mean, it's not a perfect film, because no film's ever going to be perfect, but considering that we got the Dark Knight trilogy, this is a perfect step away from that. I'm not saying it's better, but saying it's worse. I'm saying it's a different take, which is what I wanted.
See, what upset me was the fact that I thought we were finally getting away from the Dark Knight trilogy and all the other Batman versions that we've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of went back to familiar territory at the end. So it didn't feel like it was different by the end. You know, I still like most of this movie, but it's very hard for me to shake off that ending, because I just can't. I'm finding I want to. Like, there could be patterns or things that happen in the middle of the movie, and that could just been a bump in the road, and then it would have still been good. But the ending is the ending. You know, it's the tail end of the movie, and when it went that direction, you know, and like I said, like, you know, it's to destroy a whole city when you were just initially killing off a few bad eggs. It just felt very un-Riddler-like for his particular version of the Riddler. You know, if that was Joker, fair enough. You know, but Riddler, like, if he was that sort of way inclined from the beginning, fair enough. But he just seemed to be wanting to kill corrupt officials who are in charge. I did like that scene where Batman's interrogating him, and you initially think that Riddler knows that Batman's Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. And you realize he's only mentioning Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne didn't get killed. And also the way Bruce Wayne spoke to Alfred, like, Jesus Christ, the guy just waking up from an explosion and you're already shitting on him. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You know, and if you got to be stupid not to know that he only said nice things about your parents to protect you, you know, because he was your guardian. All of these sort of things. I thought that was a bit harsh, but also his relationship with Alfred, that seems to be a significant thing in a lot of the Batman movies.
Well,
it felt very insignificant in this movie.
I disagree with you.
I didn't think there was enough screen time between the actors to show a bond.
Well, I think the thing is that I think you're wrong. I'm going to explain why I think that in a bit. Because the first scene we see with him is that them talking about things like he goes, "You're not my father." He goes, "I'm very aware." And then when he's in the hospital, he wakes up. He says, and then he says, "He's a good blah 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 blah." And then at the end he says, "He's just trying to take away things that I care about." And he finally admits that he cares for Alfred, and that was a real that he recognizes that Alfred, he cares for Alfred, because again, you got to remember that he is separating himself from his humanity in a way, and that I think Selina Kyle has helped him refine his humanity now.
I'll probably have to watch it again.
And Alfred is helping him try to refine his humanity again.
See, I thought his relationship with Selina Kyle was much better than his relationship with Alfred. You know, I thought there was a real chemistry between them two. You know, and Selina had him wrapped around his finger as well, which is what I loved. You know, so that's one of the things I like about her. She's more in control than Batman likes to give her credit for. You know?
I think that also she recognizes in him that he isn't that his humanity was sucked out of him, and that she wants to try and refound it. And the fact is, Alfred and her find it again because they talk about the fact that he's a recluse in this particular version, that he's he's rarely seen outside of his castle and stuff like that. And I like the fact that when he comes out, when he comes out, it's a big event and stuff like that. And I like the fact that both Selina Kyle and Selina Kyle doesn't know who he is, but can recognize the fact that his humanity has been kind of compromised, and that Alfred wants him to become more human again. And I like the fact that both of them are battling for basically his soul. I wanted to find a way that was more, because in a more secular way. But again, as I'm a religious man, so I'll just say his soul, his morality, his being, because obviously that's been removed, but he kind of finds it again. And I like that. Again, the thing is, there's a lot of layers to this film that I love. As I said, to me, this is the best Batman film since Dark Knight Rises. I was
gonna say Alfred has always tried to fight for Bruce Wayne's soul. He's the only person who, in every version of Batman, pretty much, Alfred has always been there to keep Batman away from losing himself in his persona, to keep Bruce Wayne from losing himself in being Batman, and he's always been like that, Alfred. So I was no surprise that was what Andy Serkis was doing in this. I would like I said, I would like to see maybe a little bit more. I know you are very happy with a lot of Batman and very little Bruce Wayne, but I've always loved the Playboy Bruce Wayne. I've always loved him. It's like he is in disguise. He's going undercover. He's being incognito when he's being Playboy Bruce Wayne, and I love that. I really do. Like seeing him being somebody that he's totally isn't, because what he really is Batman. And I very much appreciate that side of him as well. So I'm hoping that they can bring that around in the sequel too. Him like dating chicks and going to parties and stuff like that. And somehow intertwining it with his Batman persona.
Yeah, as I said, I like the fact that he gets let into the club as himself, basically, and then
he's famous.
It was infamous. My famous was infamous. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, come in. It's just like I love. As I said, I love the fact that he's not that. Maybe he has to become that again. That he has to become that persona in order that he can probably get more as Playboy. Lay about Bruce Wayne. They can be as Batman.
Yeah,
I like the fact that he's kind of learning that he's not yet the perfect Batman. He makes mistakes. And I like the fact that he's not perfect. I mean, the thing is, because that's what I liked about the Nolan films. He wasn't a perfect Batman. He made mistakes. He did stupid things. And the thing is that was part of the character. And I love this part of his character, that he can go over the edge. That there isn't, that he has a more maniacal sort of psychotic side that gets unleashed, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. As I said, overall, I think this film is great. And the thing is it the best Batman film ever? For me, it's in the conversation.
I don't really have a best Batman film, to tell you the truth. I've never really found one to be particularly better than the other, whatever the genre, whatever the versions are. It would have been nice to get a Ben Affleck solo Batman movie. We never got that, unfortunately. I thought Ben Affleck was an excellent Batman, but we'll see how this pans out in the future. What are you going to give it out of 10?
I was about to ask you the same question. I'll give it a very strong 8.
I'm going to give it a 6.
That's fair enough.
I want to give it a higher mark. I really do. I can't give it a 7, even though I want to even give it a 7, but I can't. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because I like most of it, but I think it failed in its landing. And when you're in a plane and your landing fails, you're fucked. So that's how I look at it. By the way, Bossman, you're really pixelating. I don't know what's going on with your shit. You got any applications open or something?
No. That's what I said no. I'll be able to just double check. Oh, my iTunes came up for reasons I do not know. Is that better?
Yeah, a bit better now.
Okay.
So okay.
Weird.
All right. So by the way, one more thing. Have you ever noticed that Bruce Wayne is really famous, but Batman's a mystery, whilst Superman is really famous, but Clark Kent's a mystery. So, well, not Clark Kent is a bit of an enigma. So, Superman as the superhero is famous, but as a real person, as Clark Kent, he isn't. Whilst Bruce Wayne as a real person is super famous, but when he's the superhero Batman, he's kind of like a ghost story.
A legend.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. I've always thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, that's our review. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, and tell us what you think of the Batman. Did you think it was as good as Gary? Did you think it was as did you see things from my point of view, or do you think it's even worse than that? Let us know, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much, Gary, for joining me on this, and we'll see everyone else in the future. Take care. Bye-bye.